Hello, hello. I am just going to see if this will automatically start. Probably not. That would just be too easy, wouldn't it? All right, let's go out. And there we go. Okay, I see it. Hello. All right. We are live for the May 2025 calendar series live. So we're just going to give everyone a minute or two to locate this, whether it be on YouTube or Facebook. I do have all new lighting in here. Now we are playing around with the, what should we call it? The depth, the color, but things should be a lot brighter with a lot less glare. I feel like I'm on stage at a concert with all the lights shining in my face, but it's okay. We will figure this out. New lighting looks good. It's a little blue right now. So we set this all up last night when it was dark outside. So we might have to make a few little adjustments, but I think it is much better. There's no shadows, a lot less glare. I know you're getting a little bit on this, but with plastic, you're always going to get glare. But I think, I can easily work around it without a problem. Oh, the birthday wishes are still coming. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I can't even believe what a crazy weekend I had. Celebrating started on Friday, and it just went straight through the whole weekend. So I'm a little overwhelmed with all of the messages and phone calls and gifts and cards, and it's been pretty spectacular. So thank you, everyone, for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. You all know how to make a girl feel very special. So, okay, well, we're going to dive right into this because we want to get this going. This is the bundle. Obviously, you're not getting an empty package of ephemera, but I have it laid out on a tray. So this month we are working with Doodlebug. So I will say right off the hop that the kit is going to be a little bit more expensive this month because you are going to get a full pack of the Chit Chat ephemera, which is a little on the pricey side, and also a full 6x12 sticker sheet, which is also a little on the pricey side. Doodlebug tends to be a little bit more pricey than other collections, but again, we don't want to restrict ourselves to the same thing all the time. So we kind of branched out a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but I did not do a lot of add-ons this month. So that will kind of offset things. So Karen wants to know was my birthday was yesterday. Yes, June 8th is my birthday. And it was a fabulous weekend. So thank you everyone for that. So this is the bundle. So you're going to get the 6x12 sticker sheet, the full pack of Chit Chat ephemera. You get this beautiful pattern paper and a sheet of white cardstock. And I'm going to go through and show you all of the add-ons and give you measurements, techniques. We've got a brand new technique for smooshing that you guys are just going to love. I'm going to change your world because the person who showed it to me changed mine. So, so I'm going to pass that along to you. For now, we will set that aside, and I'm going to bring on the actual layout. So I'll just show one page at a time here. This is the page that I created using, oh, you know what? I did not turn off my overhead light. Ha, I don't need that. There we go. I just noticed there was a glare in the center, but so this is the page that I created using the bundle for this month. And I'm kind of glad I did it the way that I did it because I wanted to show people that Doodlebug is a very sort of, I'll call it a cute line. It often is a little on the feminine side, and it has lots of cute little icons with little faces and things like that. But it can definitely be used for grown-up photos. I feel like you can use it for anything. So why is my chat not updating? Oh, because you guys are chatting on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. Okay, that's no problem. Okay, so I decided to use some of my racing photos for this main page on the layout. And I'm going to hold them up just a little bit so you can see them a little closer. So you can see me there in pit lane with a race car in the dirt. Nothing cute about it. And the page turned out really good. So I decided to use the title The Good Life on my page. And over here, I did a little section that says absolutely you. So it really kind of focused on me and some of the things that I like to do. And I thought it worked out really well. So again, when you approach this, you're going to have lots of options for titles and things to personalize your page. So you can certainly switch things up. But I thought it worked really well. And I was really happy that I could incorporate some of these photos. So I'm just going to spread this out and show you both pages side by side. Hopefully they'll both fit on the screen. They should. And you'll get an idea of what that looks like as a whole layout. So on this side, obviously my littles are featured over here. And this is just a snippet of some of the things that we did in May. Now I'm getting to that time of year where I'd like to take more photos. You're outside, you're doing more things. So I definitely did not get all my May photos on one layout. This is a time when I would definitely go back and create a few more layouts to put in between my months in my album. Now, if you're doing it as a calendar page, you may not do this side. You may just focus on this side of the layout and end up with just the single page. So Wendy says, do I print my own photos? I sure do. I have for a very long time. And in my personal opinion, and I mean, you can throw that in the garbage if you want, but it is the only way to scrapbook. I am not a person who can print photos ahead of time and create the layout around that. I kind of like to just create the page and then go looking for the photos. And I love the ability to be able to print smaller sizes. I know some people like to have larger photos, especially if they're scenery or things like that. But I like to get lots of photos on a page, especially when I'm doing the calendar, because it allows me to collage and get more pictures on my page. So you'll notice here that I've got lots of different sizes in my configuration over here, and that is done by using an app on my phone. I just collage the photos ahead of time. I still print a 4x6 print or a 5x7 print. And that way I can just cut it apart once I print it out. And then I get all these different sizes, which allow me to overlap them and use foam dots to give them dimension as well. So I love doing that. And it's instant for me. So when I'm creating the page, when I finally carve out time in my day to sit down and create, I don't have to stop creating, order the photos, wait a week or more for them to arrive, and then find time to get back to the page. So I feel like for me, printing is the only option. So I have done that for a very long time. Yeah, so that's the layouts. I'm going to run through the add-on list, and then we will sort of point out some of those things. It's not long. A lot of it is sort of basics. You will notice that I did use tag dies again, and I have used them lots and lots of times throughout the 3 years that we've done the calendar. So if you haven't purchased them, you likely have an option for the tags already. So first thing on the list will be the inks that I used. So you will notice in the background of the layout, we are going to do a smooshing technique. I do this often. I find it's a really great way to add color to your background, to tie in your papers and create your own background paper. So you can see the smooshing at the top and the bottom of the page here. And it does not look fluorescent like the lights are making it look fluorescent. But it's so fun to do, and I'm going to show you a new technique for that. It gives you a lot more control, and I think you're really going to like it. So the inks that I used are from the Distress Oxide family, and they are Twisted Citron, Salvaged Patina, Carved Pumpkin, and Kitsch Flamingo. Now, I think we used 3 of these last month. Let me just see. April calendar. We used Twisted Citron, Salvaged Patina, and Kitsch Flamingo. So I'm adding in the Carved Pumpkin this month. So if you purchased inks last month, you'll be able to reuse 3 of them. And then if you don't have Carved Pumpkin, you can pick that up. I believe they're all in stock, if I'm not mistaken. We did restock. And if you didn't pick them up last month and you think it's something that you might like to try, definitely encourage you to do that. Oh, great. Shelby says they're all stocked up. That's excellent. So oxide inks are going to give you a little bit of a different look than regular dye inks. That is not saying that you can't use regular dye inks. So in other words, brands like Gina K and Concord and Ninth Tailored Expressions, you can definitely use those. But the oxide inks do give you a little bit of a different look. So just keep that in mind when you are creating your page and comparing it to mine. If you're using dye inks, you might find they're a little bit different. Okay, so that is the ink colors that I used. And then I'm going to talk about some non-conventional things. These are not things we sell, but a sandwich bag. So just a sandwich bag and a microfiber cloth or paper towel. So you can use either one of those to make your smooshing tool. Eventually, you're going to end up with something like this. And I will explain that as we get further into the video. But that is definitely what you want to have for your smooshing tool if you want to try this new technique. So that is on the add-on list, but you won't find that in the shopping section. That's just something that you have to put together yourself. Then we want a non-porous surface. So for me, I'm working on a glass mat, and you could use a like one of those craft mats. I'll pull mine out here like this. You can use a piece of acetate if you want to, but I will be using a glass mat for my non-porous surface. You will want a mister for spraying water. So I'm going to use the Spellbinders Mighty Mister. You can also use the Distress Sprayer from Tim Holtz. We do sell these spray bottles as well. And I have alcohol in mine, but you could have one with water in it. So you could use that as a mister as well, or whatever you usually use for misting water. You will want to have that handy. The tag stacklets are what I am using for my tags. So these are from Tailored Expressions. So there's the pierced tag stacklets and then the regular tag stacklets. And they do layer together. Now I do have a tag here that I didn't end up using. So I'm going to hold that up a little bit closer so you can see the piercing detail in the top layer. Just waiting for everything to catch up here. Yep, you can see it. So the piercing detail is the top, and then the background, which is the orange in this case, is the layer that sort of shadows it. And you'll notice how thin the matting is on this, and I love it. The two layer together so nicely, but whatever tag option you have is one that you'll use for your photos here. And then a stapler. So you'll notice at the top of my tags, I did staple this piece on. I like to use a stapler. It creates texture, just a little bit of a different element that you can use on your pages. But I use the tiny attacher, which is this one here. It's from Tim Holtz. It's just a nice stapler to have on hand to add that staple detail to your projects. Black and white twine. We sell this by the yard. I think 2-yard increments. Also 5 yards and 10 yards. So if you want to have some on hand, this is something that we use quite often. And I used it for the tops of my tags. I did use a dotted stamp to stamp on the flight path of my butterflies. I've talked about those several times in the past as well. There are many manufacturers out there that make clear stamps that offer these little flight patterns. Doodlebug is a big one. Not Doodlebug, sorry, Lawn Fawn is a big one. I have several sets in my stash that create that flight path. The one I often pull out is an Easter set, and it is called Extraordinary Easter, and you'll see that it has a couple of options here for flight paths that I can use. So I do tend to pull that out quite often for anything that has butterflies or bees or anything like that. Then I also used a lined stamp, and you'll notice that down here I did add a little bit of a quote to the bottom of my page, and I stamped on some lines in order to be able to write that. So again, the stamp I'm going to show you, we don't sell anymore. This is something that I picked up knowing that down the road I may use it for something. I didn't think I would use it for this, but now that I have, it's definitely going to be coming out of my stash often. But I just sort of stamped those lines on there, and then I did my journaling. So the stamp that I ended up using was from Photo Play, and it was from Homemade Holidays. And this is actually a recipe card stamp. So I just took this part of the stamp and inked that up. And then I just stamped it onto my page. Dumb question. Do you open the tiny attacher to get the staples in the middle of your page? Well, I don't generally use it in the middle of my page, to be honest with you. These tags were created like as a separate element, and then I just stapled that little topper on and then put it onto my page. So finding a stapler that will reach all the way into your page is kind of tricky. If I just pull this forward, you can see that I can only reach in as far as this. Now, as far as opening it up, I still don't think that gives you very much of a reach, because you can still only go in so far. So these are a little bit smaller staples, Kimberly. They aren't your standard size. You can certainly use a standard size stapler. But you know, I'm a scrapbooker / card maker, so I have to have all the tools. So that's what we play with. But yeah, as far as reaching all the way into a page, I don't have a solution for that, because most staplers will be limited. I know that you can open up a stapler and push down, so that might work. I don't know. I've never really done it, so I'm not sure. But yeah, so this is the part of the stamp that I used, and I just inked it up, and then just sort of, I didn't even use a block or anything. I just flipped it over and sort of patted it onto that area, and that's how I got that journal spot. So I like the option of having something like that. So again, we don't have anything like that now, but just kind of keep your eyes out for something that you could use that will work that way. You can always use a ruler and a marker to draw the lines too in the meantime. The only strip stamp we have is the pinstripe one from Tailored, and you could flip it sideways. Oh, 100%. Yeah, like just kind of put that in the back of your mind and sort of look for something. And those large rubber stamps from Tailored are awesome. I'm just going to pull one out here if I have it handy. Because, well, this is the wood grain one. But just to show you, when you pull them off the backing, they're very flexible. So again, if you don't want to ink up this whole thing, you just want a small section of a stamp, you just kind of pat your ink pad here, flip it over, place it where you want, and just push down with your hands. And I did practice before I went ahead and did it on my page. Like I just grabbed a scrap piece of paper, kind of did the whole process just to see what it would turn out like. And to be honest with you, when I stamped it this time, I got the ink a little more uniform than I would have liked it. I would have liked it to kind of have the lines a little bit shorter at the top, maybe longer in the middle and shorter at the bottom. But that's just about the way that you apply your ink. And even the pressure that you put on your stamp, if you keep it more towards the middle and just kind of work your way out, it'll be sort of faded, but it's definitely doable. And getting stamps this size, you can certainly use portions of them to create stuff like this. So definitely check out things, or pay attention to things as they come out that you're thinking, okay, I need something that I can, stamp lines. And again, a recipe card is what this is meant for, but you can totally just use pieces of it for stamping out the lines for journaling. So, okay, so that's that. I used rainbow crystals as my crystals or gems on my page. Clear ones would work really well as well. I do have a large assortment of sort of neutrals, but then at the bottom of my little container, I do have some rainbow options. Some of them are older, so I'm not even sure where I picked them up. But we do have the rainbow pearls from Tina K. I'm not sure what else Shelby was able to put in the shopping section that we had in stock. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for some of those rainbow crystals, because when you use papers like this, it's nice to add that. But clear will work really well too. And a lot of the clear crystals have an iridescent sort of feature to them. So they do pick up colors from the papers and inks that you're using on your pages. So clear will work just as well as anything rainbow. So I generally reach for clear options, but this time I went crazy and put on some rainbow stuff. So whatever works for you. Oh, and she said she also put some enamel dots in this section that will work as well. So that is a great option too. I always forget about enamel dots now. I have them in a different container, so I'm always going to my my gems and crystals. So I have to remember about enamel dots. But either way, they will work for sure. Okay, so that is that. And then I also used black and white floss. I did do some stitching. Again, it is optional. I know not everyone loves to use the stitching option, but you'll notice down both sides of my layout, I did white stitching, just a straight stitch. Just hold that up a little closer so you can kind of see it. Yep. So you can see that stitching there. And then I was crazy and I did a little bit of black stitching on my title. That is, there's already a black line on the die cut, which I will show you. But I just went over it with the stitching and I just thought it added a little bit of dimension. Again, it's totally optional. You might look at that and say, why waste your time? But I enjoy stitching. So for me, it's very therapeutic and relaxing. So I enjoy doing it, but it is optional. So black and white floss, if you want to do that, you'll need needles for stitching if you want to do that. There are die cut letters that are available in a little pack like this. And that is for the title over here for May. Now I will explain throughout the year, we charge the same amount for the die cut package straight through. So when you pay for November, which is a long spelled out month, you get lots more letters. You're kind of getting a deal. And when you pay for May, you're paying a little more than you probably would normally pay for 3 letters, but we find it averages out throughout the year. So we just leave the die cut pack price the same. We don't adjust it from month to month. And this month you're only going to get 3 letters, but you'll make up for it in November. How's that? So we do have those available as a die cut pack, and we keep that that same look throughout the whole calendar year. So if you're looking for that consistency, you will find that in those letter packs. A T ruler is a great tool to have on hand for lining things up. I especially use it when I'm putting on my my letters for the calendar topper. That way I make sure I get them all straight and even. But it is a handy tool to have for sure. Sanding block, almost every month this is on the list because I sand the edges of my photos, and I will hold this up so you can see. You'll notice it kind of right in here where they overlap. You'll be able to see that I do sand the edges of my photos. I love doing that. I think it just adds a little bit of an outline on my pictures that I really like. So that is what I use my sanding block for. A pen for journaling if you do want to add any journaling to your page, or if you want to draw the lines, you'll want to have a pen for that. Now I use a couple of different pens. I do like the Sharpie gel pen that has the flicker on it. Now you'll want to practice a little bit with this one. It is more of an ink flow thing, and sometimes it can blob if you don't keep your pen moving. So just practice a bit with that. But I love that one, and then I also like the Le Pen option from Marvy. This is one that I grab a lot as well. So both of those pens are great. We also sell, I think, the Memento pen as well, or we did. I'm not sure what we have in stock. And then also just a Sharpie fine point marker works good too. So there's lots of options for pens, and you probably have something already. The calendar page is also an add-on. So if you are buying the bundle, we don't include the calendar page as part of the bundle because not everyone does this option. So they are blank calendar pages like this. And some people buy like 12 of them for the whole year all at once, and some people buy them one at a time each month. So just you make sure you're picking that up if you want to do this half of the page. And then an acrylic block for stamping the little flight patterns that go behind the butterflies and the bees. I don't use my Misty for that. I go ahead and use the little acrylic block. That's from Gina K. I love these little comfort blocks. They come in lots of different sizes. There's also a set of them that includes all the sizes. So that is a great option if you're looking for a little acrylic block. And then, of course, some black ink. My favorite to use is the VersaFine Clair Nocturne. piercing tool and piercing mat if you want to do your stitching. So I have an old one. This one isn't available anymore, but we do have a 12 by 12 one from Spellbinders that we have in stock. Similar idea. And then a piercing tool to put the holes in the paper for your your needles. I just noticed that I have adhesive all over mine because I had to pierce through the adhesive that I put on this paper when I stuck it on there. So I was like cursing that, but I have to clean my tool off. It's got adhesive all over it. Okay. And then the last thing is, if you want to pick up colors in the cardstock that we used in our title that coordinate with this page, because I know some people like to mat their photos. You will need some anyways if you are going to make your tags with the shadow mat and mat your photos over here. So a couple of things. When making the tags, the paper, the white paper and the colored paper is not included in your bundle. You can pull from your stash and do it, but it is not included in the bundle. So the colors I used are from Spellbinders Color Vibe Collection. The pink is Flamingo. Now this paper has dots on one side and it's solid on the other, and it does have a white core. So you can sand your paper same way as I do my photos, and you end up with the white core being exposed. I'm going to hold this up here just to see if you can see it. So you'll see I sanded the edge of my photo, but I also sanded the edge of my paper. So again, that gives just sort of an added detail to your layout. And so flamingo is one color, lime is the other color, the green that I used for the tag and for the matting on here. And then peacock. Now peacock is currently out of stock. Our supplier that we regularly order from also has it out of stock. So we did put in a large cardstock order with Simple Stories. So it has not shipped yet. We're waiting for them to ship. I'm going to send them a quick message today to find out if they can get it out the door kind of quickly, because then it will be available for our next delivery that comes across the border. I believe that is the 12th of June, but I'm not sure. Let me just see. No, it is the 19th of June. So if they ship quickly, then hopefully it'll hit our US address for that. Now, if you don't want to wait or pre-order, another option would be the robin's egg. So it won't match the Y in your title. Well, I shouldn't say it won't match. It won't be the same shade. It definitely matches. But this robin's egg is another substitute that you can use instead of peacock. So if you're a person who gets your pages done right away, you can definitely substitute the robin's egg cardstock for your tag and your photo matting, and it will blend in beautifully, even with the peacock as the Y in the title. So I'll leave that as a decision that you can make, but it is definitely an option that will work. Okay, so if I take the peacock out and I put the robin's egg in, then you can do that. So is the Color Vibe paper sold in a multiple pack? It is not. Well, it kind of is, but it's broken up into color families. We don't bring those in anymore because you wouldn't be able to get all the shades. You'd have to buy like 6 multiple packs to get all the shades that you wanted. So we just sell it in open stock. So you can just pick and choose the colors you want. And if you're finding that you really love this paper and you're drawn to certain colors, buy 5 sheets or so. Make your own multi-pack of them, and then you can just sort of store it that way at your house. I've actually made a multi-pack of 8.5 by 11 cardstock that I take with me when I go to friends' houses to craft. That way I don't have to take all of my paper or scramble and figure out what colors I need. I just take this handmade multi-pack and take that with me. So you can make your own multi-packs based on colors that you like or that you're drawn to. So that is it for add-ons. So really the only big things that you would be purchasing if you didn't have them are the ink colors and the tag dies. Everything else is just sort of basic stuff. So not lots of add-ons for this one. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside and we're just going to pull in some little notes that I made here, and I'll point a few things out and what you cut and what you do. So I've got my little my little notepad here that I wrote out. So the Rainbow's End paper, which is the paper that has the butterflies on one side and the stripe on the other. So this paper here, you're going to cut a 1-inch border all the way around the paper. And that is going to give you kind of like a frame. So I'm just going to flip this over here to the back so you can see it. So this is your frame. And then when you place your white paper over top, just the sides are going to show the stripe. Okay. But we want to be able to use all the paper that gets covered up by this white sheet. And that's why we cut the border out. So I'll demonstrate how I do that a little later in the video. And you will see how I utilize that. But you want to make sure that you cut out that 1-inch border and then have the centerpiece pop out, because you're going to be cutting, you're going to be left with a 10 by 10 sheet of paper that you're able to use. And you're going to end up cutting that paper into 2 5-inch by 10-inch pieces. Now, the paper is directional, so you will want to watch that. And I will show you that when we get further into the video, when I demonstrate how to cut this out, exactly how you want to cut those papers, because you want your stripes and your butterflies to run in the right direction. Otherwise, your butterflies might be flying across your page rather than up and down your page. But it's not a big deal if it gets messed up, but it'll just look a little bit nicer if you do it this way. So I will point that out when I do the demonstrating for that. And then you're going to be doing some paper tearing. I'll just hold this up so you can see that paper edge is torn. So I'm going to be sort of showing you how to do that torn edge on that. That's kind of like an old school technique, but there is some technique to it. So I do want to walk you through how to do that. So that's what you do with the Rainbow's End paper. The white cardstock that you get in your kit is going to be used completely for your background. So you're not going to have any left over for the tags that you see here in this layout. So make sure if you want extra white paper that you order some extra white paper, because this paper here, what you're going to do is cut the barcode off, and you're going to cut it to measure 11 inches by 12 inches. So it's still going to be the full 12 top to bottom, but the sides are going to be in 1/2 inch. Now, you may want to wait to cut this down until after you do your paper smooshing, because that way, if your smooshing is a little to one side or the other, or maybe even a little top to bottom, I don't think you can correct that because you want the full 12 inches here. But if it's a little wonky, you can trim a little more off one side than the other, but still end up with the piece that looks 11 inches wide. Okay. So I like to do my smooshing first and then trim the edges so that I know that my smooshing is kind of in the middle of my page, but that's up to you. But just remember, you will need extra white cardstock to purchase so that you can do your tags, or you have to pull from your stash. Okay. So that's pretty easy cutting measurements as far as getting set up for your layout. I do want to point out that we did talk about it. The 3 colors that I use for the tags and the matting is flamingo, peacock or robin's egg, and lime. Okay, so those are the colors we just talked about. They are in the shopping section. The peacock is on pre-order, so you won't get that right away. And if you order a pre-ordered item, we will hold your order until those items arrive, unless you tell us otherwise. Okay, so if you want your order to ship out or be ready for pickup, let us know in the comments of your order. Just say, I'm going to pick up my order now, or please ship now, and just start a new box with the pre-order items when they come in. But we don't actually close your order out until those items arrive. And then again, don't forget that you need the extra white paper if you want to do the tags the way we've done. And even if you're not doing tags, even if you're just doing photos, if you want to use a similar look, you're going to need some extra white paper. Okay, so that is it as far as add-ons and different things that you're going to use. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about the ephemera and the stickers. And I'm going to try to point out the things that I used and where. So this is the amount of ephemera that we are using on our layout. This is the amount of ephemera that you are left over after you are finished. These ephemera packs come with so much stuff in them There's no possible way I could use all of this on a page. Now, I tried to use a good combination of the stickers and the ephemera on the page, and you can see that the page does look very full, but there is a point that you have to stop. Like, you can't just keep adding and adding and adding, because it's just going to get too cluttered and crazy. So these items can be used for lots of other things. I do see your comment, Monica. I will address that in a second. So this is what is left over. So you can make cards, you can make additional pages. I think, I don't know for sure, we may have additional papers from the Butterfly Kisses collection still available on our online store. I'm not sure. This is not an old collection. It just came out not too long ago, but these things sell super fast. So you can check out what is available from Butterfly Kisses. But this is an amazing option for adding additional pages to your album if you're doing scrapbook layouts, because there's tons of stuff here. So that is the extra. So we're not going to talk too much about that, but there are some really great title options in there. So if you don't like my title, you can certainly take a look at what's available in the ephemera pack, and maybe you can come up with something different. I loved the word good. I loved the word happy. And I love the word dream. So I use those sort of as focal points on my layout. But again, you have the flexibility to do whatever you want. As far as measuring the tags, so here's the thing. I know some of you really like to have specific measurements for things. And I'm happy to give you the measurement of the background of the tag, but I'm going to throw this out there. And I'm not being mean. I'm just trying to help you develop tools that will make it easy for you to create pages of your own. So once we get through the area where I'm going to show you how to make the background pages here, it is really easy for you to kind of figure out what size of a tag you're going to be using for your layout. You want to make it big enough that you can fit 3 of them across. So if yours are slightly bigger than mine or slightly smaller than mine, in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? And I'm interested in some feedback here. Just so feel free to be honest with me when you are in this group, like as we're chatting right now. I know some of you want specific measurements for your photos, but you're not going to have the same photos as I do. Yours might not run vertically, or they might run horizontally. You might have more that you want to include. You might have less, so you have to, create them so that they're bigger here. I feel like that is part of the hobby. And although I am here to provide inspiration for you, I'm not here to actually create the whole page for you. You should be developing the skills that allow you to have the creative freedom to switch this up. Maybe you want to have 4 tags across here. Maybe you want to not do tags at all. Maybe you're just going to do vertical photos. Maybe you're going to switch it up to one big horizontal photo. The options are endless. You really don't have to do exactly what I'm doing in exactly the same size. What I want you to be able to do is look at this section and divide it into thirds, if that's what you want to do, and then just sort of figure out what size you want to use. That's the creative part about the hobby. And like I said, I'm more than happy to give you the measurement that I use for the tags. And it's not really a measurement I used. I just pulled out my tag dies and sort of laid them out right on my layout to figure out what size I would need. Now I'm trying to find, here's my ruler. A ruler that I can measure. So I'm going to just measure the back of the tag. I'm not doing the layer on the top. So my tags are about 2.5 inches wide, and they are about 4 1/8 tall. Okay. And then there would be layers on top of that. So that's the back layers. That gives you an idea of the size that you're looking at. But in all honesty, you can look at this section right here. It's a little bit of math, but it's not hard. You can look at that and say, okay, well, that's about 9.5 inches. Like, even just take your ruler and like place it and say, okay, like if I did a tag about this wide 3 times across, it's really easy to kind of figure it out. The other thing it's really good for is if you're looking on Pinterest, because we all go to Pinterest for inspiration. I go to Pinterest for inspiration. When you're looking at a layout, nobody is listing the measurements of their papers and the embellishments that they have on their layouts. It's just a picture. So to be able to take it and break it down and look at it and say, okay, this is how big this will be. Because again, if you're looking at this, this page is 12 inches long. You're looking at a good inch, maybe an inch and a half on each side of this is in. Then you could figure out how big this is. Then from there, you can say, okay, I want to kind of divide that into 3 for these tags. So it just helps you kind of break things down a little bit. And I think it's a great skill to have. So again, challenge yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to ask for measurements this time. I'm just going to try and figure this out myself. Or I'm going to look at the photos that I have. I know I have to fill in this section. How can I print my photos out and collage them in such a way to make it look kind of like this, but doesn't have to be exact? So just kind of play with it a little bit and really challenge yourself. And I think you're going to be pretty happy with the results. And I think it's a little more fulfilling when you didn't I know you're not, I don't want to use the word copy because we're putting this out there for you to actually copy. If you want your page to look just like this, 100% go for it. But to give yourself the creative freedom to switch up your title, or maybe don't put this rainbow here, maybe do another cluster of the embellishment pieces, play with it and make it work for the photos that you have. Totally make it your own. That's why we really switched up the way that we do our calendar pages and our layout inspiration, because we really want to inspire you. We don't want to do it for you. Plus, it gives us a lot more flexibility for creative freedom as well. Okay, well, that's enough of my rant, my teaching section, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to embellishments and where I place them. So for the ephemera, what I pulled out of the package was the stuff for my title here. So that was The Good Life. And here is the piece without the stitching. So you can see the black lines on the G and the D. But again, I added just the stitching just to add it a little bit more dimension and sort of kick it up a notch. So I used the Good, and then there is a little piece inside the ephemera pack that says The. And then I pulled out the scripted word Life. And that's how I created the title that says The Good Life. I love using all the different fonts and layering them up onto the page to create that. So that's actually how my page started, was the title. I loved the title and I thought, okay, let's look through my photos and see what will work with this. Well, I always have a blast at the track. So I definitely wanted to incorporate these photos. And I also very rarely get pictures of just me in my scrapbook pages. So I was really excited. I didn't take these, obviously. One of the track owner's wife took them. So I'm going to take my page this coming weekend and I'm going to show her how much I appreciate the fact that she took these pictures. And yeah, I was able to put them in my album. Mary says, we all want to be you. Oh God, you do not want to be me. Although this weekend, it was really great. I have to say I had a great weekend. Okay, let's see what Monica says. Great comment about your photos. I really should have asked what sizes those 3 photos are in particular. Nope. I understand that you're inspiration to us and that we do not need to copy exactly what you've done. Thanks for your response. And I really don't mean it in an insulting way, and I hope it's not coming across that way. I really am doing it kind of in an encouraging way, because I really want you to try to think outside the box. That's what you want. And you don't need to know my photo measurements, because if you've got your tags, it's easy for you to figure out your pictures, honestly. And I'll be quite honest, these ones were all cut, I think, I'm not going to measure them. I want to say that they were cut from a 4x6 picture divided into 4. No, that might not be right. But regardless, and I thought they were a little bit small for the tags when I first did them. But that's why I added the matting. And I mean, there are so many stickers and things that you can still add to your tags to fill in that white space if your photos are a little bit small. Don't even stress about it. But honestly, just really try to figure these puzzle things out on your own. You will thank yourself. You really will. I used to kind of be like that, like way back when I first started scrapbooking. I'm like, oh, what measurement did they use for those photos? Oh, I don't have a horizontal picture. I better go out and take one. And all of a sudden they weren't even my pages anymore. I'm like, no, this is not how you do this. You have to kind of, it's a great starting point. And that's really what I want this layout to be, is a starting point. I don't expect you to copy it exactly. Although if it does work out for you, definitely go ahead. But really just use it as a jumping off point. If you want to use a different sticker, if you want to use different words over here, like just really make it your own page and you'll love it. Okay. So that's The Good Life. The next thing on here that is die cuts are the tops of these tags. So they came from these little pieces here. And again, the words were great, but again, I didn't want a whole page filled with words. I do have a die that I can use to do tag toppers, but I thought, wait a second, if I cut that off, I can use these as tag toppers and I can still use the words if I decide to later on. So if you turn them this way, I just trimmed off the top of the tag and you'll notice, oh, here, I'll lift it up. There is a little bit of white still showing on those pieces. I made them all kind of a uniform size from the top down. And then that's what I used to staple onto the top of my tags. And then I added the ribbon. And then the flower one, this one, I didn't actually cut. I just tucked it in underneath and just the tail of the tag is showing here. And I ended up putting a little butterfly on there. So that was kind of a cute little embellishment as well. So that's where those come from, the little tags. So we've talked about those. Over here, I use the word absolutely and you. Now this little section here is a cased element. I was searching for different things on Pinterest and another layout came up. Maybe it was a card, I don't remember. And they actually had this little cluster created on their page. And I thought, well, I can take that same cluster and recreate it, put it on my page. It's a different layout altogether, but this little area really inspired me. So I loved that it said absolutely you. And this is absolutely me right now. I'm totally into this racing hobby with my husband and we just have such a great time. So I did use absolutely and you there. And look at these cute scripted fonts and words. You get a bunch of those in your ephemera pack and I just love them. And it pairs nicely with the large blocked words. So that's where I use the absolutely you. All the rest of the stuff over here is stickers. So we'll get to that. And then over on this side of the page, I did the dream. Okay, so those two, again, one of those really nice scripty fonts. So the dream. And then I also used the word happy and forever. And these here are all these little banner strips that come in your ephemera pack. So I did, this is the life, always smiling, love these memories, you are my sunshine, choose happy, and picture perfect. And I thought they worked really well with the whole layout, but definitely with my 3 grandkids. And for me, they are the dream. I mean, I just love being a grandma. And I love that I can put little snippets of them on here. Now, these are last year's photos, which was really fun because Olivia hardly has any hair. So she was here yesterday and she's nothing like these photos anymore. She's got crazy wild hair and it's just so fun to see them change. So I loved being able to incorporate them. But yeah, if we're looking for layout ideas, you don't have to case a whole layout. You can kind of pick and choose little elements or things they've done on their layouts and incorporate them into your page. So I loved that. It really suited what I was doing. So I brought that over. So that is all of the ephemera that we used. And now I'm going to pull over the sticker sheet. Now I didn't mark all these things out, but I'll go through this. So if we focus on the title, there's the butterfly that I used right there. And I just popped it up on some foam adhesive and it worked really well with that, filled in that space. Over here, you've got the rainbow and the sun and clouds. So I thought those looked really cute there. Down here, we've got a couple of more butterflies. So we've got this pink one here is somewhere on this paper. Oh, right here. And then you do get another one. There's 2 of those butterflies that are the same. So that one and that one is the same, but there's 2 of them on the paper, so you can use those. And then I just filled in with some little flowers. This butterfly here is also a sticker. It's right here. And I think that is it for this side. And then over here, this little cluster, I used a lot of stickers. So there are 2 floral clusters, one here. And where's the other one? One has this flower. I'm blind. Because the other one has that. Oh, right here. So these 2 flower clusters are the ones that I put on each side of this little block. And then in the middle, I put the large daisy. Now I did use some of this stem. You can kind of see it in there. I'll hold it up. See it in the background there? It was longer, but I ended up cutting it off. So you could probably leave that off, but there is a little bit of greenery in the back there. You can kind of see it peeking through. And then I use the two little bugs. One is the ladybug and one is the snail. They're adorable. And then the little mushroom in the middle. He's right here. So, and then I added a yellow butterfly and a bee, and again, directional flying. So there's a couple of bee options, but I had the bee flying in and then the butterfly flying down. So that's the yellow one right there. And that is again over a smooshed area as well as this one. And then I did add a couple of other butterflies in. Once the whole page was done, I kind of added a couple more. So there's that one there. And then the one down here is a peach colored one. Where's that one? Right here. So, and there's lots of butterflies and even hearts that you can add to your page too. But again, I was starting to feel like, okay, I could keep adding, but I just felt like, it was time to stop. So I just stopped. You get some really cute postage stamps in this one too. I desperately wanted to use them on this layout, but it just didn't fall in line with where my vision was going. So I sort of put them aside reluctantly because I was like, oh my gosh. Now I wanted to point out something with these too. These little circle elements are so fun. I was making some clusters with them, but I ended up not using them, but I'm going to show you just from my package what you can also do with them. You don't have to use elements exactly like you see them. If you have stitched circle dies, what I did, I'm just going to pull one out here, was I used my circle dies and I actually ended up, sorry, just trying to dig it out of the package. Oh, that one has adhesive on it. Of course it does. Well, I'll pull it out anyway. Ugh, it's stuck. Ugh. It's coming. Okay. Well, it's coming with other things, but you'll get the idea. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're looking at just the circle here. So see how I have the stitching around the outside? So I used my circle die and I put it over top of the actual ephemera because they are much larger than this. And I actually added stitching to it. So you can do fun things with your ephemera. You don't have to use it exactly as it is in the page. You can kind of play around with it and kind of customize it. So definitely keep that in mind too when you're playing around with your stuff, because you can kind of change the way it looks a little bit. But anyway, so that's kind of placement for everything. Now what I think we'll do, does anybody have any questions they want to ask about this part so far? Are we good? I'm just making sure that I don't go too far ahead without answering any questions. I think everybody's okay. Don't be shy. If you do have a question, I would be happy to answer it for you. All right, so I think what I'm going to do now is show you how I did the smooshing. So I actually saw Kathy Zielski demonstrate this on a card, and she saw it from somebody else's video. So it's not her original idea, and I don't even know if it's the original idea for the person who uses the idea, but I thought it was amazingly smart. So you're going to take your white cardstock. Now I got to trim off the barcode there because I want to know the size that I'm working with. And when you hear me fade away, it's because I've walked away from my microphone. I just have to grab this trimmer here quick and just trim off this barcode. So I'm going to start with a 12-inch piece of paper. And we will go from there. Okay, let's put this over here. Now, when you are doing the smooshing technique, it is very important to have a non-porous surface. So I have a glass mat that I work on, but I also have recently added this to my stash. This is the small 6x9 glass board. It's magnetic, so all of your fun magnets and things like that will work on here. But I love it because I can put it beside me, make my mess here, and then I can just move it out of the way when I'm done. I can clean my work surface 100%, but this way it just sort of keeps the mess off of my glass mat and allows me to have a clean work surface, and I don't have to worry about dragging my paper through it. So I'm going to be working on this glass board, but like I said before, you can work on your actual glass board. You can work on a non-stick surface, like that little sheet of nonstick stuff that I showed you earlier, a piece of acetate, anything like that. So when we do our smooshing on this page, it's going to be kind of done in blocks. Okay, so I'm going to do the blue, the pink, the orange, and the green. So that's the pattern I'm going with. The other thing you want to be mindful of when you're doing it is you want it to be high enough on your page and low enough on your page that once you get all this stuff on here, you're still going to see the smooshing. My very first attempt, I didn't bring it down low enough. And once I got my tags and stuff on, I really couldn't see any color down here. So I had to redo it. So I will say that you want to make sure that you go high enough and low enough. So again, I'm not going to give you an exact measurement, but take note of the distance between where my smooshing ends and the top of your paper and where my smooshing ends and the bottom of the paper. That's how you're going to know if you've gone high enough and low enough. And again, I don't have any smooshing out here, but you want it out wide enough that it's going to kind of, be in proportion with the stuff that you're layering on your page. Take into consideration too that I've already trimmed 1/2 inch off each side of this paper. And that's why I say maybe wait till you're done smooshing. And then if you have to take the full inch off of one side, you can, or maybe you want to take 3/4 of an inch off one side and, a little less off the other. It gives you that flexibility. Okay. Oh yes, you can hear Cooper. He was sitting on the chair behind me, but he got up and moved. Okay, and then we are going to do the same smooshing technique on your calendar side, a little block up here at the top, and then a little area over here. So again, on the calendar part, it's really easy to figure out your spacing because this is 4 blocks, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks down and 3 across. So it's kind of like a grid. So it's easy. Oh, he's really saying hi now. All right, so how do you do this? So I have already created my smooshing tool, but this is super easy to create. And once you've created it, you can just set it aside and pull it out each time you want to use it. So you're basically going to open up your sandwich bag. Cooper, shush. Now I'm using a microfiber cloth in mine. It is about half the size of a regular one. So I'm just going to literally scrunch it up and put it inside the bag. Now, you don't want to fold it all nice. You want it to be kind of like, whatever. And then just tighten that bag up. And you end up with this sort of pad that you're going to be using to smoosh with. Okay. So what I did was I grabbed some string and I tied it around there tight so that it's just going to constantly be like that. But that's what you're doing. If you don't have a microfiber cloth, you can take paper towel and you can stuff it in your sandwich bag and use that instead. So either way works great. But that is what you're going to be creating. So Cooper's very talkative. Yeah, he can be when he wants attention. He's a boy. So that happens. Okay, so we're going to start with the salvaged patina ink. And I'm going to smoosh it on to my pad. Now, I recommend, personally, smoosh on a little more than you think you need. Because to go back and get it the same consistency is going to be a little tricky. So if you just smoosh your ink on, I'm going to move my paper out of the way here, and then give it a spritz of water. Again, the more water you add, the more diluted your palette becomes. So just keep that in mind. And I'm just going to use this cloth. I just got my board a little bit wet here, so I'm just going to clean that up so I don't get my paper wet. I mean, it's going to get wet anyway, but okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our smoosher and we're just going to dab it around inside the paint. And so you've picked up paint here, and now you're going to just dab it onto your layout. But look how much control you have. If the camera's working well, you're going to see the cat hair I just got there. And remember, you're doing this in quarters. Okay? So be mindful of how much space you're using at the top. Okay. And you can just smoosh until you're happy. If you want to put a smoosh in a certain area, you just use the tip of your smoosher and just go in with that. What do you guys think? It is so easy. Now, I do like, and then to clean this off, I just wipe it onto a cloth and it's gone. Now, what I do like is the areas that it builds up. The color is going to be darker there. So I'm just going to set this aside quickly because what I'm going to do is bring in the calendar part, and I'm going to smoosh the area on the calendar that I'm going to be using as well. So let me just refer to my calendar here. Okay, there we go. Now, again, the section is a bit smaller, so I'm going to go in a little, I'm not using the full pad. I'm just using part of, okay, and then I'm going to do a little teeny area over here. Okay, so there, that's it. Super easy to use. It is 100% easier than the acetate. You can get more depth of color, and you really control where you put this. I'm a person who has a hard time with the whole mixed media thing because I want the ink to go where I want it to go. This just makes it so much more approachable. So if you have not enjoyed the smooshing process up till now, this might really change your mind, and it gives you a lot more control. Okay, so that's, I'm just going to set the calendar part away, bring back the layout. Now, what I would do at this point is either let it air dry, or I would hit it with my heat tool, because you don't want to have these puddles of ink when you bring in another color. Sometimes colors don't play nice together, and you'll end up with brown, like mud. The other thing you can do is you can take a microfiber cloth or paper towel and just dab those sections that are puddling, and that way it will just sort of take away some of that water and make it easy. Now, the thing that happens when you do that is that you take away that depth of color. So if you want to get that real depth of color, then don't pick it up with your cloth, but it does look really good. Like, I've let it dry kind of enough, but isn't that amazing? Very controlled, very easy to focus on particular areas. And again, if I want to add now another layer of blue, I can go in there again and layer on top of this. So it's really, really user friendly. Trust me. And if you don't want to use your original sheet, just pull out a scrap, practice a little bit, get the feel of it, and then you can come on. Okay, so Cheryl says, for us non-mixed media scrappers, this is a game changer. 100% it is. And for now, we can thank Kathy Zielski for it. I don't remember who she said she got the idea from, but as soon as I saw her do it, I'm like, oh, I have to try this, because I'm right there with you guys. Like, I don't like to get too messy when I scrapbook, especially, but I do love the ability to create these mixed media backgrounds. I just think they're so versatile, and you can create them to work with whatever product you're working with as far as colors and things go. Now, if you want to, you can take your palette and then a paintbrush, and you can splatter over top of this. You can bring in your black splatter, your gold splatter, whatever you want to do. Once you get all this done, you can go ahead and add more layers to it. So you can get really creative with it. And for the card makers out there, this is so easy to do on a card panel. Because again, you can make smaller pouncers if you want. I don't know, what do you want to call these? You can make smaller pieces in your sandwich bag so that you have a much smaller area to fill, and then you have even more control. So you can make them in a few different sizes if you want to. But the beauty of it is, you can spray your alcohol spray on here to clean it off. You can wipe it on a rag and just throw it on your shelf. And whenever you want to pull it out, it's ready for you to use. So it's not like you have to recreate it every time you want to make one of these smooshers. You just use it and set it aside. So it works really good. Okay, so now I'm going to pull in the pink. And again, I'm going to smoosh on a bunch of pink just so I have a big enough palette to do all of the smooshing that I want. And I'm just going to mist on the water and just clean off my overspray area. And now we're going to come in and we're going to do a similar thing for the pink. So I just kind of like smoosh it around a little bit to stir up that water. Okay, and now I'm going to come in with the pink, and I'm going to overlap the blue and the pink. Now, do be careful if you have big drops of water. When you tip, it's going to drip off. So just kind of be mindful of that when you are transferring the ink over to your paper. So again, here I don't have much in the way of color, so I'm just going to put it there. It is so easy to do. And I'm just having those colors overlap a little bit in the middle. Okay, so there we go. Done. And now I'm going to bring over the calendar page, and I'm going to add a little bit of pink over here. Okay, and then just a wee bit of pink kind of up in this area here. Done. So easy. And then cleanup is super easy too. Again, I just grab a microfiber cloth. I just wipe it all up, and then I'm ready to go with my next color. So in my personal opinion, glass is the way to go. It's so easy. So cleanup is so fast. And again, I'm just trying to give this just a minute to dry. I'll talk about something because I don't want to pull out my heat tool. It's actually best if you can let it dry naturally. You'll get less warping and stuff on your paper. But I find this technique also allows you to control the moisture just a little bit easier too, rather than the acetate. It's very user-friendly. But again, I'm not too worried about the wet over here. And there's not even a whole lot down here that I'm going to overlap. Maybe a little bit in here. So I'm going to just let that sit and dry naturally. Okay, next color we're going to use is the orange, which is the carved pumpkin. And you guys know the drill. Just smoosh on that color. Now, I just got a message. I'm not sure from who. Let me see. I don't think anyone that's trying to tell me something. Okay, perfect. All right, so now we're going to mist. So you want enough water that it dilutes the color so you have movement, but you don't want too much water that it really waters it down, because otherwise you're going to get a very washed out color, and that's not what you want. Okay, so I just wiped off my little bag. I'm just going to go in there and pick up some of that color, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add that in. And again, I want to make sure that I'm coming down far enough that on my layout, I'm going to be able to see all of those fun colors peeking out behind all of that stuff. But see how I'm getting those nice areas where it's pooling? That's going to dry really cool. And if you want to just go in and add a little bit more color in some of the whited out areas, just use the tip. But that looks really good. Love that. Just wipe off my little tool, and then I'm going to bring in the calendar page and add my little splatters there. Okay, so just a little bit down in this corner here. Again, trying to overlap the colors just a little bit. And if you go outside the block a little bit, it's no big deal. Just make sure you're getting that nice coverage. Perfect. Amanda will be very happy that I'm doing this for her, although she might want to try it. Okay, and then I'm just going to clear this off, and we just have one color to go. And I've made zero mess. Like, honestly. Cooper's now on my chair again, and he's pushing me off. But you'll notice he's not meowing anymore because he's happy he got what he wanted. So now we're using the Twisted Citron. Again, I'm going to get my palette ready. Okay, and I might have to do a little dabbing on my layout. We'll see here. Oh, it's drying quite nicely, but I don't want these blobs here to interfere. Okay, so now we're going to go in with the tool and just add the green. And these colors pull the colors in the stickers and the die cuts and the paper out beautifully. Ta-da! Now, if you're looking at this, I'm looking at it, and maybe it's pretty close, but I'm thinking I might take just a hair more off of this side than this side when I'm cutting it down to fit on my page and have this kind of centered. What would a good orange cardstock color be? Oh, well, I can tell you. Just hold on and I will address that for you. Because I did have, see, I cut this out in orange, and I actually think it is called orange, but I'm going to double check my file for you. Just let me finish the smooshing and I will double check for you. But yes, you could definitely bring in the orange. I think Color Vibe orange. Yes, that it is orange. That's the color I used. I just wanted to make sure it was called orange. I thought maybe I was dreaming that. But no, it is the Color Vibe orange is the color vibe that I used on this tag here. And that goes quite nicely with the orange in the papers and also the inking that we're using too. Because originally I was going to use that that orange paper, but I ended up not doing it. So okay, so there. Now we've created our color blocks. Super, super easy. My little tool is all cleaned up and ready for next time. And my work surface is pretty much cleaned up. So we're done with that. Very, very easy to do. And I love that. And I'm just going to let that air dry. It does air dry pretty quickly. And again, you can just see, I'm just going to point out a couple of things here. So see how you're getting these areas that are a little bit deeper in color? This is what the oxide inks do for you. So a little bit deeper in color, and they're just kind of, it's where the ink pools. You might get some of that with the distress ink, but because this is a opaque, no, is that the word? Where you can't see through it? Yes, opaque ink. It does, you can't see through the ink color. It just really, oh, Monica, I am a super novice at this. I am no expert at this mixed media stuff. It's not my thing. So when you can do it this easily, oh my gosh, like it's that little tool that you make yourself is just a game changer. So yeah, so that is how those blended sections look. And I'm not even going to bother, dabbing off those sections. I'm just going to let this air dry on its own now. And it's going to be beautiful. And again, remember, you're going to be layering on a bunch of stuff over top of your blending. So it's not going to look like big blobs of color. You're just going to see little bits and pieces of it behind your elements, and it's going to make it look amazing. Okay, so that is how you do that. Now I'm going to walk you through how to cut out the center of your paper to create that frame and talk about the paper tearing and so on. Now I'm going to use a different style of trimmer for this. For cutting out the center, you need a trimmer that you have a stopping and starting point. I don't normally use a trimmer like this anymore, but I'm going to remove the barcode. And then I'm going to show you how you do that. Okay, so what you're going to do is you can start anywhere. And you're going to, depending on the trimmer that you're using, you're either going to put this edge on the 1-inch mark on this side of your blade. If your trimmer doesn't have that, you can measure from the other end. So your page is 12 inches long. If you move it back to the 11-inch mark, that will allow 1 inch to hang over your cutting line. And then you're going to take your blade and you're going to put the blade at the 1-inch mark on your ruler, push down, and stop at the 11-inch mark. Okay, so you're not cutting end to end. You're starting in 1 inch and you're ending 1 inch from the end. And then you're going to rotate it and do the same thing all the way around your paper. So the idea is you want your lines to intersect, but if they don't, it's not a big deal because you can snip them with scissors and you're not going to see the area where your lines intersect anyway. And I'm not standing up to see if I'm lining this up perfectly, so mine likely won't intersect. But I'll show you just what will happen. So do all 4 sides like that. And then the center is going to pop out and you're going to be left with a frame that has a 1-inch border all the way around. And that allows you to use this paper. Yep, see, it didn't quite pop out, but pretty darn close. So there we go. So now you have all this paper that you can use and you have this 1-inch, oops, I just hit my microphone, sorry. You've got this 1-inch border. Now, when you're using striped paper, I don't I don't like using it as a border where the pieces stick out. Oh my God, I did it again. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to wipe up these little sections here because I want to cut this. They're dried enough. Okay. So when you place paper on a striped background, let's say you want to have an even border all the way around. What happens is you get striped down one side, but then you just get that solid color across the top. And I don't like that. So when I have a stripe that I want to use like this, I just make it so that it shows on the sides. So I'm going to leave this the full 12 inches, and then I'm just going to narrow the width of this paper so that it will show that striped border. So I think I'm pretty close to having this centered. So I'm just going to grab that other trimmer again. And I'm going to take a 1/2 inch off each side of my paper. No, yes, a 1/2 inch off. Because I want my finished size to be 11. So I'm going to tuck my paper in here, and I'm just going to come in from this side and put it on 11.5 inches. And that means that 1/2 inch is hanging over top or over the edge of the cutting blade. Okay, and then I'm going to spin it all the way around and do the same thing on the other side. And this time I'm going to put it at the 11 inch mark. So we came in another 1/2 inch again. Okay, so now we have this paper and this border. So when I put this on here, from top to bottom, it's going to be even. And then you get those beautiful striped pieces running down the sides. And look how beautiful those coordinate with the inking that you just did. So that's how I create that whole background piece that ends up looking like this. Pretty fun, right? Excuse me. Okay, so now we have this piece that's left over, and that is what we're going to use to create this part right here. So this is 2 pieces of paper layered on top of each other. One is the stripe, and one is the butterfly. Okay, so what you're going to actually do, what I did was I cut this in half. So you end up with 2 pieces that are the same or approximately the same size. So it is a 10-inch piece of paper because we cut the 1 inch off on each side. So again, be mindful of the direction that you're cutting. So I want to make sure that I'm cutting through my stripe at 5 inches. And that'll give me 2 pieces that are 5 inches by 10 inches. Okay, so there's your 2 pieces. One is going to be butterfly. One is going to be stripe. Now, to get them the way that they are here, all you're going to do is tear the edge of your paper. Okay, so you don't want to tear too much off. You want to pretty much keep the paper the size that it is, but obviously when you tear some of it off, you're going to end up with a slightly smaller piece. So in other words, you don't want to be tearing like 1 inch off of all the way around your paper, or you're going to end up with a really small piece. You're really just tearing off little strips. So I did save some strips from when I tore the paper off. Now this one is a little bit larger because I don't think, yes, oh, you do. I kind of tore too much off one side, and then I ended up tearing off a teeny weeny little bit for the bottom. But you don't see a lot of the bottom of the striped paper because all of your stuff is layered on top. But what you really want to do is go very evenly all the way around your paper. Now, when you tear paper, I don't want to do Amanda's because I want her to be able to do it herself. But when you tear paper, you're going to end up with an edge that has the white core showing. Can you see that? The white core. Or you're going to end up with a piece that doesn't have the white core showing. And you want to have the white core showing when you tear paper. I feel like that is the edge that you want. Now, if you're going for a different look, then you can tear it differently. But when you are tearing and you want that white edge to show, the piece you're tearing off, I'm just going to do a little bit here. The piece you're tearing off is going to not have the white core. See? So there's no white core. This is going to be my garbage piece. The piece left behind has that white core piece that's showing. Okay, so that's how you want to tear it. So I'm just going to carefully do a guided rip all the way around the edge. And you don't want it to be perfectly straight. You're not looking for that style of tear. You want it to be, well, I wanted it to be sort of jagged and irregular. So that's what you're looking for, is to have that white core edge, and you want to tear all the way around both pieces, both your butterfly piece and your striped piece. Now, you're going to layer them on top of each other, and you want the butterfly piece to be slightly narrower than your striped piece. Okay. And then when you put your tags on, you're going to notice the tags hang down further than the bottom of these pieces. I did that by design. So you definitely want to be able to see your striped paper and your butterfly paper all the way around. But the bottom I wasn't too concerned about. That's where that inking is going to come into play. So that's why you want to make sure you ink down far enough so that you're able to see that inked edge. When I did my first paper, it did not work out that way. So I had to re-ink. I tried to add a little bit more on the bottom, but it wasn't working. So I ended up re-inking the whole page. So I learned that lesson for you, and I'm happy to pass on that information. So yeah, that's kind of how you're going to create those pieces that go here. Now, I did end up keeping all of these tear-offs because I wasn't sure how my layout was going to go. I didn't know if I would be using them on the tags somehow or whatever. So I did hang on to them, but I'm since done with them. So I'm going to put all my scraps in a bag, and I'm going to file them away with all my extra scraps from other calendar months, because I know I've said it a few times. I may or may not use them as like on the title page of our year. I don't know yet where I'm going to go with it, but I might use bits and pieces of our leftovers to do stuff like that. So I'm going to tuck it away for now, and who knows, I might pull them back out. But there isn't a lot of leftover paper in this particular layout, so you're not going to have a whole lot of paper scraps to do that. So that's how I did that. And then if you want to, you can do stitching down the outside edge where that white paper meets the rainbow paper. And then you can also add stitching to that good. Now, you can watch previous calendar videos that have stitching on them, and I've done demos on that. I'm not going to take the time to do that today because we've kind of already covered that before. But definitely be sure to check that out. Now, just a couple of things to note. This video, if you're watching it on Facebook, will only be there for 30 days and then it expires. So it'll be archived over on our YouTube channel. So if you're watching on YouTube, then you're watching it live. But under the live section of our YouTube channel, this video will be there. It will also be added to the 2025 calendar series playlist. So there's a little tab on our YouTube channel that says playlists, and we have things divided up into playlists. So it kind of organizes things a little bit, but you'll also be able to find it under the live tab. We can add a video to multiple playlists. So definitely check that feature out if you're over on YouTube. So if you're watching this on replay, you'll have to look under the live tab or under the playlist tab to find the video to rewatch. Okay. All right, I think I answered all the questions. The bundles will go live now, and you are able to order. Just keep in mind, again, if you're ordering that peacock paper and it says pre-order, your order will not be completed until that paper arrives, and it could be a couple of weeks. We're hoping that they're going to ship quickly, but we are at their mercy. And robin's egg is a good substitute for peacock. It's not quite as dark, but it's definitely in the same color family, and it works well with all of the papers. So that works good. I think that's it. So happy crafting. I'm just going to pull the layout back on here. I hope you enjoy the page. I had a ton of fun creating it as usual. I love the new smooshing technique. And yeah, hopefully you learned a thing or two and have fun creating. We will see you all again very soon.